Okay, so we're live. Quick overview. So we're going to be talking about some very interesting stuff. This is a live, so we might go off in different directions, but the plan is to talk about MTHFR and COMT, epigenetics, what you can do about it if you are unlucky enough to have expression of genes that's not optimal for health. So before we get all into that, let me just introduce myself. If you don't know me, my name is Ethan Leeds. I'm a holistic health coach, and I'm talking with my friend Jennifer Van Allen, who's a naturopath, and we're going to be sharing information back and forth. She'll be coming in just a second. So a lot of people understand that it's very important not to be toxic. Okay, so if your body gets too toxic, it gets out of balance, it causes all kinds of problems. You start expressing with symptoms of a whole different range of stuff. You can't be toxic. Now, we know that, but there's a problem with some people who have certain genetic expressions of which I've just mentioned, which make it more likely that they're going to be toxic because they're less capable of removing toxins. And a lot of these people are really concerned, what can I do about it? Like I've been dealt a bad hand. It's not as bad as you think. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to give you some solutions. We're going to share with you why it's not quite as bad as you might have been led to believe. So let me just introduce Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Now, listen, I know this is an area that you've really specialized in, and you've also got personal experience within your family of having those issues and dealing with all of that. So it'd be great if you could kick off just telling us a little bit about, your personal experience in this area.
So I went through looking into epigenetics and learning about it years and years ago. And when I initially ran the epigenetics on myself and my children, which is something that I added into my health practice later, I was very discouraged because we see this list of genetic variants. They're called single nucleotide polymorphisms. Polymorphism is because you can turn it on or off. They morph, right? And when I saw this list for each of us, one, they were a variety of things, and two, the list was quite long. And I was discouraged because at that point we had done everything we could according to the modern allopathic medical community to be healthy and according to the holistic and natural community, and yet we weren't getting where we needed to be at our optimum health. In fact, we were the exact opposite. And we had tried everything: AIP, elimination diet, everything under the sun, and yet nothing was really budging. In fact, we were stagnant or getting worse, and I couldn't understand why. That's what led me down the road many years ago of looking into genetics. When I looked into it, I became incredibly discouraged because to me it was almost like a death sentence. It was almost like I have MTHFR, we have COMT, we have these things. And then when I started researching more and more into it, I realized these are just ways that our body, by God's design, expresses stress. If you have the breast cancer gene, it doesn't mean that you have breast cancer. It means that essentially, if I was to write on this cup, Jennifer, and it says the BCBR gene or whatever, the MTHFR or COMT, it just means that as this cup is filled up with toxins, it can be emotional, physical, whatever it is, as it's filled up with toxins, the way it will express are these genes. But the more that we get those toxins out, the more that it's not expressing that way because there's nothing to express. And
Right.
when I realized that, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Okay. And then I was defeated again because I went, wait, we're doing detoxes and detoxes and detoxes. And if you have COMT, one of the things that can happen is it interrupts your DAO receptors and you can build up too much histamine. So one of my sons has one of the COMT expressions, and there's more than one MTHFR expression. There's more than one COMT expression, and he has more than one COMT expression. So the more that we tried to detox, the more that he would have exact opposite effect. His pupils would dilate, his ears would turn red. I remember paying a naturopath like $350 an hour for her to say, put him in an Epsom salt bath. Within 5 minutes, I even had it on video. He would literally turn red and vomit in the bath from Epsom salt because those pathways were so clogged. And for people who say, well, that's because maybe he had a ton of vaccines or ate a lot of junk. No, we literally moved to an organic farm and we're making and eating our own food. And this still was happening because at this point, um, when we're looking at genetic expressions of stress, single to nucleotide polymorphisms, not my eyes are blue or brown. These are polymorphic turn on and off. They carry up to 14 generations. So you're looking at like a very heavy load just upon birth. And not only that, in my life, when I was pregnant and when I was young, had a lot of trauma emotionally. And then I also had a lot of toxins. I was the 80s generation. You're a latchkey kid. We're going to shove a plastic food into your face until you come home when the lights come on, right? And so most people don't realize when you're pregnant, you dump those toxins into your baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had dumped all of these toxins from generations previous and what I had eaten as a kid into my kids. And when I realized that, I was even more depressed. I was like, no, I'm the worst mom ever. You just felt incapacitated and non-equipped. And then I realized, okay, wait, if this is a histamine issue, what does that look like? And so I stopped looking at my genes as what I am, but looked at them as puzzle pieces. How do I unfold these, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked at that, I realized with COMT, the more that you are trying to detox, the more histamine you have, because it's almost like a catch-22. It's like we have trash in these trash bags in our body, and our body's okay, it's there. I can't deal with it right now, it's there. And the more that you're opening those trash bags, the more that your body's going, there's trash. And it creates histamine. Have you ever driven by a trash facility? You know what they do with trash? They burn it.
Yeah.
That's what our body does with histamine. That's why it's heating. That's why it's hot. So the more that I was unloosing that trash in his body, those toxins, the more his body was heating up and trying to burn it up and get rid of it. And so then you have it just in a different form, biochemical reactions. And so his body's creating more histamine because there's this gaseous version of it. So it's a catch-22. That's what happens in layman's terms. And it wasn't until I was able to use the combination of supporting his body, rebuilding cells with folicumic and a zeolite spray, which literally binds the histamine, that I was able to actually pull this stuff out, stop expressing those genes. And then we were able to reintroduce foods.
So
the zeolite spray, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so one of the things so it's been a bit depressing what you've said. You even said you've been depressed. So obviously we're not going to leave people in the depressed state because there are answers which we're beginning to move to. But first of all, before we get to the answers, maybe a quick explanation of we've both used the term a few times, gene expression. So maybe a little bit of an explanation of that, because that's probably not very well understood by most people. So what we're saying is you have a genetic weakness, let's call it a genetic weakness, but that can be turned on or off. If it's on, then it will be expressing in this negative way, but it can also be turned off and not expressed, which is why you said earlier you can have the BRCA gene, the breast cancer, but not get breast cancer because it's off. Right? So just because you have a gene that's not ideal doesn't mean that it's going to express, it's going to act in the way that's going to harm you. So that's what we're talking about when we say gene expression. You can turn your bad genes off and you can fire up your good genes. Okay, so let's to do that now. Because of these weaknesses, potentially, let's say they're not off yet. We're gonna move towards getting them off, but let's say they're not off yet, then we need to be able to detox in a way that isn't gonna have to need those genes to work. Okay, maybe I'll put that badly, but these people are detox compromised. They have difficulty in getting rid of toxins, so we need to find a way that they're going to be able to detox with. So you've just touched on the first of two things two products we're going to talk about. So one of them is a nanozeolite. So and I'm going to pass back to you just a second, Jennifer. But so nanozeolite happens to be something which is amazing at detoxing. And it does it in a way, it doesn't matter what your genetic situation is, because it works independently of all of that.
It does the work for you.
It does it. It's not relying on you to do anything. As long as you can pee, that's the only thing. You have to be able to pee.
And that's about it. Have bowel movements, that's about it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so back to you. So let's talk a little bit about zeolite.
So I love the combination of the two because when we added the fulvic and the zeolite, um, I added the zeolite first, which I don't recommend for anyone. I honestly recommend add the fulvic and the zeolite at the same time. And I
Right,
added the zeolite first. And when I did that, and this is, I'm going to get to why. When I did that, within a few days, my son, who at that time he was 6 years old, he had been potty trained since he was 18 months old, but he was continuously peeing himself because of our kidney detoxification pathway. So his body was always sweating, always hot, always peeing, always. And whenever he took in toxins, same thing would happen. He'd sweat, he'd pee, always.
right,
And he would pee in the night even. He's 6 years old. It was very embarrassing for him and his emotional health and everything, let alone the physical of it. And within a few days, that all stopped. One other thing is within 2 weeks of just the zeolite spray, within just 2 weeks of that, he he was able to sleep more than 5 hours at night. He hadn't
right.
done that since he was 18 months old. He had had one vaccine, which only one, and some people can have it and maybe not notice something. He was not that case. He was the case that within that one vaccine, he literally had bleeding in the brain within 24 hours. So for him, like I said, he had already had a pile of this, a pile of genetic stuff. And so he finally slept for more than 5 hours for the first time since he was 18 months old. He was 6 years old,
Yeah.
right? And we know we have to get into
And
that
we're
sleep
both seeing those kind of stories all the time, aren't we?
all the time. Like these are regular, I mean, like I literally have stories of people in my health practice where they go from being nonverbal autistic to being able to speak their first words within a month.
Yeah,
Like that, it's amazing. And people are like, thank you. I'm like, don't thank me. It's the zeolite. That's what it is. And it's so small, like you said, a nanoparticulate. And for people who hear the word nano, you can hear it both ways. There's nano that's good things, there's nano that's bad things. Nano just means size. That's all nano means.
yeah.
But if we have bad toxins, which that's what toxins are, and they're super tiny and they're nano, we have to have like a good guy ninja that's nano too, right? Like we got
To
to
get
know
to
where they
the
are.
same places. Otherwise, the
Exactly.
nanotoxins are going to be in places that the non-nano
Can't get to.
Superman can't get to. So
Exactly.
it has to be nano. And one of the questions that I'm asked quite a bit with not just with zeolite, but with anything, let's see if it works on me or on him or on her. Listen, if you take a magnet and you've got 100 buckets of iron filings, do you need to test the bucket to see if the magnet's going to work in it? No, you don't. It's going to work. It's a magnet. It's iron filings. It's 100% every bucket. It's going to work. It's not going to work on 90 buckets and not work on the other 10. It's going to work on all 100 buckets. Well, listen, zeolite is a toxin magnet. If those toxins are in your body, and trust me, they are, it is going to work on 100% of people. It's going to grab toxins, it's going to remove them from you. Now, that's different to feeling it. Some people will feel it, some people won't feel it until down the road when symptoms start disappearing. Different people are different in how they feel stuff. So, that's a different matter. But is it removing toxins? 100% of the time. And the way that it moves the toxins is very, very interesting, and frankly, what part of what makes it almost a miracle, because it moves when it grabs the toxin, it neutralizes it. So that the moment it has the toxin, even something serious like mercury or radiation or whatever it might be, it grabs it.
Histamine.
Yeah, there's another one. So it grabs it, and the moment it has it, it neutralizes it. It's not toxic anymore. Okay, so as it's moving it out of your body, it's not harming your body en route. That is such a big deal,
So
especially for
crucial with
people.
people who are exactly, yeah, especially the people who are compromised because like I said earlier, the more that we're opening those trash bags, the more that the body is producing the histamine and saying, hey, there's trash undone. Which that brings up a good point. Now when I encourage people as far as zeolite, I always encourage fulvicumic first. And the reason for that is because as our body works through charges, like what you're saying. So as we're pulling out that toxin, our body, if it doesn't already have the good minerals to put in, it's going to take something that's comparable in atomic weight and frequency and pull it in, which can be another toxin, right? So
Right.
having the fulvicumic in there supports the cellular turnover
So
from literally
let's get to the fulvic humic and explain a bit about that. But before we do, we have a question which I just want to answer. I don't know if you've got the chat, so you can see the chat,
I
Jennifer.
can't know.
Okay, so
Let me see. It says
Heather
show to-
Ryan.
Oh, I can now. Okay.
Awesome. So Peter, hi Peter. So Heather has asked a question: are there any negative symptoms associated with zeolite? So do people sometimes feel worse before they feel better? I'll pass that to you, and then I might add depending on what you say.
Yeah. I would say as we're opening that trash bag, right, and we're pulling things out with normal detoxes, we see that a lot. With zeolite, because it's neutralizing and encapsulating the toxin, we see it a lot less. Can you have shifting in the body? Yeah, because it doesn't go through your liver detoxification pathway, which is important. All of us have overworked livers, but it goes through your kidney detoxification pathway. So you're taking some of the work off of your liver. But because it goes through our kidney detoxification pathway, everything fluid that we use to detox is going to be more. So you could sweat more, you could pee more, you could cry more. And in traditional Chinese medicine, the kidney and bladder, which are the kidney pathway, they're interacting, they actually are the balance between fear and wisdom, and it's where our body holds those emotions. And what we see also is people might not have a physical shift as they're detoxing, but they might dream more, they might feel more. As those metals are leaving the brain and as those toxins are leaving, they're shifting in how they process their thoughts even, and their emotions, and balancing between fear and wisdom and stored trauma. All of that starts happening. So you may cry more, you may dream deeper, but as that comes out, those pathways are strengthened and encouraged and cleaned out. So it's a very different type of what we call Herxmeyer effect or detoxing effect.
Okay, so they've got another question which I'll come to just in a sec. But so I agree with everything that Jennifer's just said. Just add, most of the time with zeolite, most people don't have detox symptoms. And if they do, they're lower. However, there's a number of mechanisms by which it's possible to have detox symptoms. I'm not going to go into all of that now because it's not very common, but it is possible. But for the most part, no. No, you don't normally have detox symptoms. And anybody I work with, I teach them a few things to do to make it even less likely. Now, the next question is this treatment natural or synthetic? The zeolite that I recommend is natural. And I will mention it at the end. So no, it's not synthetic, it's natural. Okay, so let's get to fulvic acid. So that's we covered zeolite briefly. There's a lot more we could say. It's just a phenomenal product. But in interest of keeping this video short and pithy as we can, let's move on to the second product that we both love to use with zeolite. So, and it's a fulvic humic acid that's called black oxygen. Now, we've both over the years recommended other fulvic acids because fulvic acid is just a great stuff.
It's needed. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So both of us prefer the organic type of fulvic acid rather than the fossilized type. And we both prefer to use organic that's been extracted using non-toxic methods and so on. So there's lots of fulvic out there, and a lot of it we wouldn't recommend. Some of it is great, but we've both come down on the side of one called black oxygen just because we are seeing much better results from this particular fulvic acid than any other.
Night and day difference. Yeah,
It is.
night and day difference.
It is. So we've both been shocked in our own, in our own practices with what we do. We've both been shocked at the difference between what black oxygen does and what other fulvic acids that we've previously used have done, despite having good results with some of the other fulvic acids. I've loved fulvic acid for a long time, but what this does is just amazing.
It's night and day difference. Speaking of genetics, one of the things that I didn't even say as far as the gene expressions, but so when I ran all that gene expression, all the gene testing, one of the things I found is that I have both the celiac gene expression and gluten intolerance. And so depending on the child, they have one and or both as well that I passed on to them. And we were already gluten-free, dairy-free, at that point, even fruit-free, because too much fruit, if you have COMT and histamine, pushes you into glutathione and antioxidants, and you're not ready to detox. Like I said, like you can't handle it. So we were already gluten-free, fruit-free, dairy-free, but to see it was interesting because then I was able to go, okay, yeah, that actually makes sense. This fulvic acid, when we started taking it, I can't even like not smile. I can't. It was like it's like my whole, like you were saying, it was like, it was depressing, it was depressing. And then like we had so much shifting with zeolite, but we were still kind of stuck, right? And then we added in the fulvic, and it's like everything rebuilt. Everything began rebuilding in our bodies, and every single, like our guts literally began rebuilding. I'm a GAPS practitioner. Anybody know like the GAPS methodology and stuff? GAPS didn't work. Like nothing worked to rebuild our gut. When we started fulvic, within 2 months, we were able to introduce foods that nothing allowed us to reintroduce other than this fulvic from this company. Like I said, we had been on others for years. It literally went into every cell, fueled it for cellular turnover, cellular recovery, and helped heal and seal our guts personally. That's our testimony.
So a little bit of
And
backstory on the fulvic acid. So you're the person who convinced me to try this black oxygen fulvic, right? Because I'd recommended other fulvics, and one of the things I didn't like about this fulvic was that I didn't see a difference in it except for price. It was a bit more expensive than other fulvics, and I'd found out that you were recommending, you'd previously recommended other fulvics, and you'd switched to this bit more expensive fulvic, and I couldn't. Why would you recommend a more expensive one when this is the same, this really good one here that I found? Then I've found out why, and it's because of the it's not the same, and we're
it's
getting
not
much.
even the bog. So fulvic acid, when it is natural, it comes from a bog, a BOG. And
Yeah.
the bog that this one comes from used to be ocean matter. There's a lot of work that was done. If you look early on in the oncology field and what happened, I don't remember his name right now, Doctor. I can't remember his name right now. But as far as he's the one who led to us having saline bags for IV solution. The original saline bags were comparable to salt water, and it was actually healing to people for all sorts of diseases or issues or chronic illness, right? The saline bags we have today are a synthetic version. They don't even compare. But the original ones, that was in itself a treatment, a therapy.
Yeah, yeah,
The reason why he said to do that is because he said you have to have minerals to balance your pH in your body. And the minerals and the balance of the body has to reflect the salt water from ocean. And when he found the closest we can do that with baths, with IVs, with anything, the more that the body literally is fueled to have cellular turnover and heal. And that's what this bog is. This bog is, um, you know, thousands of years old ocean matter with from an actual
plant ocean matter.
yes,
Yeah.
plant ocean matter.
So it's
And
plant.
that's another
So
thing. I'm so glad you brought that up because that was the thing. Early on, you had said as far as turning off expressions, zeolite helps do all of that as far as dealing with those expressions. The fulvic goes on, and we can pull from that plant matter and that genetic material from that plant matter that is now extinct. We can pull from that and turn on new genetic expressions.
yeah,
What?
yeah, that's like blow.
I
Yeah,
know we have different genes to it. Like we can literally bring that in and have new genetic material to pull from. Like we were literally. I pushed the envelope a few months into it, and I know people. I'm natural health. You're natural health, and I posted a post of us at Pizza Hut, which is horrible. Tons of chemicals. You know what I mean? But I pushed the envelope as part of my personality, and I posted a picture of me and my kids at Pizza Hut for the first time in years that we were able to eat pizza and breadsticks, and there was no negative ramifications. And I got so much hate off that, and also so much love. I got a bunch of hate that's like, why would you feed that to your kids? And I got a bunch of love that's amazing. Because the women, and I'm not gonna cry, the women who have been in this situation like me, where your kid goes to a birthday party and they can't eat any of those foods, you have to bring the special treats. The kids who have been in the situation where you see them crying because they're the special kid who has special treats. Do you know how powerful it is for God to provide solutions for us to heal, where we can actually go to a pizza party or a birthday party, and actually eat the food? And no, we're not going to eat it regularly. We know that. We're not going to undo the work we've done. But health is the ability to bounce back. And that's what the combination of fulvicumic and zeolite gave us. It's the ability to recover. It's the ability to bounce back to modern day life.
Absolutely. There's another question that I'm going to pass to you, Jennifer. Somebody's asking, are they both safe to use if you're on immunosuppressants? So it'd be nice to know what they're on these suppressants for. Have you got what?
Your brain goes to the same place mine does, and it's hard because we know the complexity of a person's body, and we don't ever answer this and just say, yeah, do it. You know, both of us are incredibly ethical and know, like, we're not going to just tell you just do it. So our mind goes to, well, what's going on underneath, right? Like, what's the story here? Because the story is important. I will say this: if you're already on immunosuppressants and you're dealing with that already, you are looking at something that on a cellular level your body is overactive, right? When we are turning on genetic expressions, we're either turning them on because we're in fight, flight, or freeze, us or past generations. And toxins do that too. So your immune system is already in overdrive of either fight, flight, or freeze. So at that point, what I would say is, personally, I would say whatever I can do to support my body being calm is what I would be doing, which is what you're on. Fulvic acid is all the trace minerals that we need for our body. And without those minerals, it doesn't matter how many vitamins we take in. We have to have vitamins to use minerals. I mean, we have to have minerals to use vitamins.
Yeah.
And so if we're not taking in those minerals, we're not properly sending and receiving signals, we're not properly utilizing vitamins, and we're not properly functioning as a body as a whole. So taking in and trying it very slowly and seeing where your body at is what I would personally do. But we can't prescribe, diagnose, or treat. You know, there's so many different things. But I would say
he's given the answer to the reason for the autoimmune. He's got a rare eye condition. So I don't know. Can you read that?
yeah. He has a rare
I've
eye
never
condition.
dealt with that condition, so I don't know enough about it.
Either.
Right. Okay. So
I can say that the answer would still stay, because
yeah.
whenever we're looking at autoimmune, right? And I personally had 5 autoimmune diseases that now have healed. And so I don't say these things lightly, right? But whenever we're looking at autoimmune, there are things in the body that are weakening it, that are stresses, and the body is already overactive. So if you're not sure what I mean by that with pointing at the cup, go back and watch the beginning of the video. But they're already overactive and your body's attacking itself. That's what you're at. And your body's attacking itself because it's going, hey, there's stuff in here that we don't want, and we want to destroy these things. Or your body's attacking itself because there's stuff in here in some other place and we're just overwhelmed. So supporting your body with minerals, because we need that, is what I would say to do. But I'm not recommending.
I don't know the name of the person that's speaking because they've not. It just says Facebook user, but whoever you are, you're somebody in particular that we would need to work with you, not just give you product and then off you go. We would need to work with you and maybe tweak things and adjust things. So if you want to go ahead with these 2 products, then connect with me, and I will walk step by step with you to make sure that you're doing it right.
Yeah, what he said is exactly what I just said, which is that his immune system is an overdrive and it attacks his retina and optic nerve, which is what anything autoimmune is essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that most of the time it's we say attacking self, and yeah, it is kind of, but it's actually the toxins in you it's attacking. You've got toxins in your eye that we've got to get out, and then your body will stop attacking it. Okay, so what we're trying to do with these 2 products, which are the foundation of pretty much all my protocols. I don't know about yours. Would they be foundational to most?
This is the foundation of all of them.
Yes.
All of them. It's
Okay,
and zeolite.
Right.
Well, actually, there's other things like grounding, sunlight. You know what I mean? But like as far as products, these are the only 2 products. And then normally I have people who come in with like 30 supplements or pills, and within a few months, this is the only thing that they're using. Is how do we continuously get stuff out, and how do we continuously support rebuilding?
Yeah. So we both come from an approach of minimizing what people are taking, because you shouldn't be taking 30 supplements. You just shouldn't, and you don't need to be. So we like to minimize what people are taking, and what we've both found is a few things that are incredibly powerful when used correctly. And that's what we're sharing. And these two, the what we call BOO, black oxygen organics, and the liquid nanozeolite. These two are foundational. We've come from totally different approaches, both of us. We didn't know each other when we arrived at how we work, and we both come to the same conclusions. We operate the same way, and we have the same foundation because we're both addressing the same problem of toxicity and deficiency. And there may be, in this case, we're talking about the genetic component within that, but it makes no difference because this is going to support balancing your body, which even if you're genetically weaker or whatever, you still, in fact, it's more important for you that you get that extra help.
Yeah, I did want to mention and go back to the point that you brought up as far as the price. So I used to recommend one called Total Health. You can find it on Amazon or anywhere, and that was the one that I found. Okay, I like it. It's good. I didn't really notice anything in myself or in my family, but the price of that for a bottle about this big is about $25 to $35 stateside.
Right.
Now, if you're looking at Black Oxygen Organics, a bag about this big with 100 servings is $100. So it ends up being about $1 a serving. Yeah, 110. And so so then I thought, okay, I'm gonna try it. We'll see. The thing is, I could put a $25 to $35 bottle in the bathtub and over and over and over again. And the most that my bathtub will look like, even if I spend $200, is like tea, like a very light tea. That's it. I could put 1/8 to 2/8 of a teaspoon of the powder in a bathtub, and it's like espresso because of the
very concentrated. I have somebody right now.
It's concentrated. Go ahead.
I have somebody right now that's getting great results with 1/64th or 68th of a teaspoon a day.
Yes, I know. Yes,
it's just incredible. Listen, we've got a few more questions, so first question. So I'll begin to answer this one, and then you can add whatever you feel, Jennifer. So how is this different from trace minerals like concentrate mineral drops or different salts like Himalayan or Celtic? Okay, so you have to understand the difference between minerals in their elemental state and minerals in their food organic state. There's a huge difference. So we are supposed to get our minerals from food. That's how humans are designed. Get your minerals and vitamins and other nutrients from food. Now, I'm not saying there's no place for elemental minerals at all, there is. But if you were to take, let's say, magnesium from a salt, which is rock, okay, that's in its elemental form, and you also take one from food, the one that's in elemental form, you're probably only going to be able to absorb about 5% of that in comparison to 100%. Now, assuming that you haven't got digestive issues or anything, we're talking about a healthy person here with both these figures. 100% from the organic food state version. Now, 5% isn't much, but that's not the real problem. The problem is that means 95% wasn't absorbed. So you now have 95% of a mineral, which is now effectively a toxin in your body. If your body can't use it, it's a toxin. Okay, so when you're using something like concentrate, and listen, you can get results even on 5%. But when you're using something like concentrate, you are taking elemental minerals. We are never designed to get the bulk of our minerals from in that form. We're just not designed for that. Okay, so that's the difference. What you're getting with black oxygen is you're getting organic food state minerals, the way that human beings and animals in general were designed to take their minerals. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Jennifer.
Yeah, I do, and thank you for asking. Yeah, the way that it's designed by God and that humans are designed is synergistic. So most people don't realize if you're taking, like we see things all the time. You can look on anywhere. They're like, take zinc, it's going to do this. Take magnesium, although there's 6 types of magnesium, it's going to do this. But what they don't explain is that if you're taking a lot of zinc, you can imbalance copper. If you're taking a lot of copper, you can imbalance iron. If you're taking, you know what I mean? Like these things are
all
synergistic.
interrelated. Yeah.
Yeah, they all work synergistically. Where when you have them in food, like you're saying, then they're synergistically created, synergistically going through your body. Your body understands this storyline as it's taking it in, and we're made to take in minerals that way, like you're saying, with food. The one exception to that I would say is that, and I do want to take a moment to explain this, as far as the person who said difference between Himalayan or Celtic. What I find again and again and again is that Himalayan has non-heme, non-bioavailable iron in it. And most Himalayan is not true Himalayan salt. The pink salt that you see, most of it is not. It's a cheap version of it. So if you can access real Himalayan pink salt, then that's great. But most of it has non-heme, non-bioavailable iron, which becomes a toxin, leading to lipo in our body. As far as Celtic salt or Celtic salt, depending on how you pronounce it,
Celtic.
that I find really you should be always taking, because we're made to have salt, right? So that is the one exception, would be salt. And when people are on fulvicumic, one thing I have had people say is, hey, I feel great on day one, I feel great on day two, grade three, I feel so much energy, because it literally fuels your mitochondrial system. But then like day 3 to 5, they start hitting this thing where they go, hey, I feel a little bit tired, or I feel really tired. What's happening? I said, your cells are being fueled like never before to literally turn over and make new cells. So every cell has a sodium potassium ionic channel. So you need to add in more Celtic salt, and you need to add in more potassium. Eat a banana, lick some salt, eat a banana. Normally, and I mean again and again and again, the person says they did that, then they took a nap and they woke up and they felt like a powerhouse, because they finally had all the things they need, which was literally just salt, a banana, and some fulvicumic. So
So
salt
let
is
me
the
just cut on the salt thing. My opinion here. So we do need a little bit of salt. The problem with something like concentrates is it's too much salt. We don't need masses of super concentrated salt. We were never designed to do that. We need a little bit of salt. That's cool. And Celtic salt is a superb salt. And Himalayan, as you say, if you can get the actual real stuff, is also a superb salt. So we need a little bit, but we're not designed to get the bulk of our minerals in that way. We're designed to get the bulk
yes,
from food in
yes.
the form of plants or animals. And animals is great for certain like hemine you just mentioned. So you can't get hemine from plants. So with iron, actually that's one exception where you get a better mineral from an animal product than you will from a plant product. But I want to move. There's another question that I want to touch on, which somebody says they're trained to be a nutritionist and they've learned not to take supplements only short term as and when needed. So I've got, that's a soapbox for me right there. So
Yeah,
look,
it's such a good question. Yeah, which we agree with you, but this
we
is not
agree. In a perfect world, we shouldn't be taking any supplements at all. We should be getting everything from food. That is true. But we have a problem. And the problem is that because of the farming methods that have been adopted in modern time, they have destroyed our soil. And it has become, if you're buying your food, now if you're growing all your own food and you're doing it all right, different. You can forget
Oh
what I'm
no,
about
no,
to
no!
say.
I did that. You still need fulvicumic. I literally
No,
bought
but
an
you should
organic
have that
farm.
in your soil. You should have that in your. If you're doing it right, you'll have that in your soil. But let's not get into that. Listen, if you are buying your food from a store,
Mhm.
you are buying food by which it is impossible to get all the nutrients you need because it isn't in the food. There's lots of studies on this. I'll give one example. They did a study on spinach, which in 1953, I think they did it in California, and they looked at the iron content of spinach, and it was determined at that time that in the spinach, a bowl of spinach would provide sufficient iron for the day. We can argue about the type of iron, but forget that.
Mhm.
But the sufficient iron for the day from a bowl of spinach. They repeated the study in the 90s, like 50 odd years later, in the same land in California with the same spinach. And now a bowl of spinach wasn't enough anymore. Now you needed 43 bowls of spinach to get what they got 50 years ago from one bowl. Now, I don't know many people that eat 53 bowls of spinach before they go onto the barrel of carrots and the other amounts that they need to get. You can't do it. So it's not in the food. So when we say you shouldn't take supplements, you should get all from food. Yeah, if you're getting your food from sources that have got proper soil with the fulvic and humic acid in the soil, which it should be, etc., then fine, you can just eat your food. But if you haven't got that soil and you're not growing all your food in that soil and you're not having animals eating the plants from that soil, if you haven't got that situation, and I don't know anybody that has, and Jennifer's just commented she lived on an organic farm and was not able to achieve that. Listen, you have to have supplements. And one of the reasons that we love fulvic is because it's ancient. It predates before they ruined everything. Okay, so it didn't have the chemicals, it didn't have the nasties, and it's got
Like,
all what
yes.
right. So listen.
That was the problem with buying organic and growing organic. It's so those chemicals. So what happened of why we don't have this in our soil is because of the synthetic farming practices. Those toxins are in the rain, they're in the runoff, they're in the water, they're everywhere. So even with a 26-acre organic farm, my soil, even with making compost tea, right? Even with allowing the material to compost down, making compost tea, building the soil, we did the deep method, for all of it. We did all organic. The rain would come and it literally strips the soil of these nutrients. And so even if you're buying organic and eating organic, this is, unless you have ancient fulvic, which is what we have to have, it is compromised. It just is. And
it's taken from very deep, isn't it? The fulvic acid from very deep, because the top is destroyed. And when you just commented on the soil, the pesticides and the chemicals and all that basically stop the plants from taking up the nutrients that aren't mostly there anyway. The exact same things happens in our body. The chemicals, the toxins that come into our body inhibit our body's ability to absorb the nutrients. So we actually need more nutrients than they used to need, because we're all toxic and they didn't used to be anywhere near as toxic, and we're getting less. This is a big problem. And so this is where fulvic, humic comes in to play, because it's going back before the chemicals, way before the chemicals. And when we had a richer amount of plants that are now extinct will be included in this.
They were more genetically diverse and
genetically diverse stuff that we don't even have anymore, which are going to have an effect on our genes, going back to the genes thing, because they're giving us pieces of information that allow our body to respond in a different way and to balance our all these things. So that is a really great question. And
I love that question. It was good. Yeah.
Would this harm a septic tank? Okay, I'm not sure that I'm understanding that. Would this harm a septic tank?
Maybe okay, so I had a septic tank on the farm, and that's part of the concern is like, if you're taking something in, does it harm a septic tank? Taking this in is like eating super complex plant material, because that's what it is. So no, that's not going to harm a septic tank. I think that's about it.
Yeah, it's not so. No,
yeah, and you know what else? Heather said her dogs lick dirt. Yeah, if you notice, little kids do that too. They actually like lick their hands with the dirt, and what they're doing is they're putting in the good bacteria, but also the fulvic humic, those minerals. They're continuously building and sealing their gut. When they're little, your gut is purposely compromised to leaky and non-leaky and leaky and non-leaky, and that actually happens. Your epithelium is only one layer, and so they're constantly building that as they're introducing new foods. And so yeah, fulvic humic is amazing, which brings up a good point. We get a lot of questions of, should I take this while pregnant or nursing, right? I took it while pregnant, I took it while nursing. When you're pregnant, pregnant and nursing, you lose approximately 2 pounds of minerals to build this whole new life, right? This is, like Ethan said, and I've said, this is what was in soil. It wasn't a, should I take this 100 years ago? We were already taking this 100 years ago. It was in every plant, it was in every animal, and we eat the plants and we eat the animals. This is what was in our environment and in our body 100 years ago. So it's really, the question is, why aren't we taking this now? Because it's what we have had throughout all of humanity.
Okay, so next question. So how is the fulvic acid not compromised? And basically the answer to that is because it's ancient, before all the chemicals, and it's being taken from extremely deep down in the soil, where it's not being rained on and all the rest of it. So it's as pure as you can get. And then there's very special methods of extraction to protect it. So yeah, so that's as good as we can get in this modern world right now. Now, Heather just commented on the septic tank. She was meaning from taking it in baths. We haven't commented on that, but this stuff can be used topically as well. So, in fact, it does amazing things for skin issues, and also for parasites and many other things. So, a lot of people bathe in it, or they do foot baths. So what she's asking the
I'm
question
going
is,
to get it real quick and I'm going to show you because I can tell you it's not going to mess up your septic, but I'm going to get it real quick and show you. Let me fill this. I'll be right back.
okay, so while she's gone, can children take this, Michelle? Yes, children can take this, and children often respond even better, but they want you need a lower dose. So anyone that's looking at using this, I will give links later. Someone's asked for a link. I will give links later, and what you need to do is just let me know when you've ordered, because I help each person. So we don't just send you product and you've got to figure it out for yourself. I will send information on how to use dosages, all of that, and then I work one-on-one with people to make sure that, especially with health issues, to make sure that everything's working as it should, and if it needs tweaking, up the dose, down the dose, add in water or whatever, then we can do all of that. So this is a pouch of which she's just got there of black oxygen, and she's
So
about
this
to
is
tell
a
you
pouch,
what.
yeah, a fully. And one of the things is, if you have a septic, you probably may live, and I'm not going to say, but for me, I lived on a farm when I had a septic. And so for me, we took a lot of dirty baths. This is how small of the amount that you need to make this water really dark. Actually, that's way more than what I needed. So that tiny amount of dirt, right? And I guess I should have grabbed a spoon, huh? I'm going to use my finger. You can see how concentrated that very
That's
small amount
because
of.
of the very small size of it. That's why.
Yes, and there's still tons more powder. Like I could show you. There's still tons in there that's like not even mixed in. That small amount I just poured would fill a bathtub. So like that's that tiny amount of dirt. So no, it's not going to impact your septic tank. Your no.
Great. So yeah, a lot of people love to bathe in it, and then the other thing that people do is face masks. Lots
Even
of
your teeth.
ladies, and teeth as well, and tongue. So one of the things that it does is, so a lot of people have got candida, and very often you see that on the tongue in a white kind of look to it.
That white
So
film on your tongue, it's a
yeah,
biofilm. Yeah.
yeah, so it's a
And
biofilm.
yeah, it's like nothing. It's almost like nothing breaks it down now. Both of us are trained in all the herbs and all the everything, and I can tell you, potent oregano or potent this and this, and it keeps coming back. And the reason why is because the candida is making a biofilm with toxins. So it doesn't matter how much you get it off with herbs and remedies; it's going to make more and make more and make more. But this actually breaks down the biofilm and breaks down the candida and fuels those cells to be turned over and helps detox the toxins so it doesn't have more to make a biofilm with. It doesn't have more toxins to make a biofilm with. And then the zeolite in combination takes out even more toxins, so you don't have those toxins to make a biofilm.
And it
She
will
asked if it's.
clean a white tongue. How long does it take to you put it on your tongue that's white? How long?
Yes. Yeah, for me, I geek out. It's super fun. They got this pasty white tongue, and then they brush their teeth, and then brush it again with just water, so we know that what we're looking at. Then they paint it on their tongue, a smaller amount than what I even used with this. Leave it for 5 minutes, then they brush their tongue again, and their tongue is beautiful and perfect and clean and white, and all the candida is gone. And that's happening throughout your body. I mean, think of how powerful that is throughout your body. And also, I make a toothpaste for my kids. So I just melt coconut oil, however much you want, and I just add enough to. People say how much? Well, everybody's container is a different size. For the bath, for the whatever,
Tiny little bit.
tiny amount to make it
And,
a darker
and
color.
it does on the
Then
teeth what it does on the tongue, right? So it breaks the biofilms which hold the tartar on the teeth, and it's like it's
and it
amazing
rebuilds
on teeth,
the tooth. Like
and
a
it's
lot of people think,
remineralizing.
yeah,
A
people
lot,
don't
yeah.
realize when they get cavities, they think that's it, I'm stuck with that. Actually, all of our bone, if you break your bone, you're not stuck with a broken bone. If you break your teeth, you're not stuck with a broken tooth. People can rebuild their teeth. And
Yeah.
so it's rebuilding your tooth all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and you'll see the yellow like tartar on people's teeth, and it just, the dentist has trouble getting it off, and he often will take some water thing and blast the heck out of you and make your gums bleed. Gums bleeding is another thing it fixes. So, and this stuff, it just breaks it down and it just disappears naturally without any harsh blasting or whatever, and without a dentist appointment. Okay. So, if there's, that doesn't look like there's any, does it taste like dirt?
I was waiting for you to answer that question. So my kids will. Okay, so here's the thing. I have a little glass dropper bottle in my fridge, so I add distilled or a water to it that's a pure source of water, and then I add the powder to it, so that every day I can just put a dropper in their mouth. Right, it makes it super easy. I do that, and I just fill it throughout the week. I will say they will take it as it is with nothing. Now, if you wanted to add possibly like some essential oil, you want to add a drop of orange or something, you can. I feel like it doesn't taste like anything. I feel like it kind of tastes kind of minerally at most.
Awesome. So no, it's got a weak taste, very weak. It's mild. So we're
Mhm.
being asked. You're sort of explaining how to take it. So when you say you use zeolite and boo, which is called the booze protocol, by the way, together, you use the boo, then take a few drops of zeolite while you're using the boo. So if I'm starting off and I have COMT and MTHFR, um, and a few others. Okay. Should I do a foot soak with 1/8 of a teaspoon of boo in hot water and 3 drops? Listen, I go through all of that. When you've purchased, let me know. I'll send you the information. We'll talk. That's getting very detailed about specific dosages and what have you. So um, it's not really going to be relevant to anybody else but you. Let's have that conversation privately. But foot baths in general for people that are messed up. Foot baths is a great way to start before you get to the oral use. So yes, I do recommend that people start for the first few days doing a foot bath. Often the foot baths get incredible results beyond what you'd believe. So we start there, and then we gradually introduce an 1/8 of a teaspoon is the typical amount that we'll start somebody on. Yes, without going into more detail, yes, that would be generally correct. The zeolite I would take separately. In fact,
Well,
usually,
I'm glad that you said that you have to take them at separate times because the zeolite is pulling things. Mhm.
yeah. So now, and before I forget, I will give a link for the zeolite. So the zeolite that I recommend is from a different company to the Black Oxygen company. They're from two. It'd be great if one company did everything that was the best. Sadly, they don't, but it's a different company. And the one that I recommend is called Pure Body Extra. We say PBX for short. And the great thing about PBX is that I can offer you an 82% discount so that you can try it almost free. You can try it literally delivered for $13.84 so that you can try it and you can stop if you don't like it or whatever. Very few people do stop. It's tasteless, it's easy to take, and it does a phenomenal job. But I'll put links for all this underneath these videos wherever they are. I've posted this video in a few places, so I will try and remember. If for any reason I miss a video that you're on, you can always message me, and I will get back to you. Um, okay, so unless there's any other questions in the next sort of 30 seconds, I think we're probably going to close. Was there anything else that you wanted to say, Jennifer, before we do that?
I would say I love it. I love it. And I love. I don't know. Oh. You know what? There's also fun things you could do. You can add it to your shampoo. Just put some in your shampoo. Add it to your conditioner. Put some in your conditioner. If you want to see my teeth, see it doesn't stay. I don't know if you guys want to close up on my teeth, but it doesn't stay. So you can put it in your shampoo. You can put it in your conditioner to help recover and cellular turnover in your scalp, as far as hair, anything like that. But other than that, no, I love it. It's like foundation, like you said.
It is, and it's yeah. So the two together are the bomb. They really are. Individually, they're both brilliant. Together, they're almost unbelievable in what they can do. Okay, listen. Do you take it long term or short term? Okay,
Long
so
term. This That little bit I put in there is worth like 20 some salads, dude. You can eat some 20 some salads and it not do you anything. So when people are like, it's expensive, it's like $1 a day. You can eat your 20 some salads, or you can do this long term and actually be fueled and
And
restored as you
20
grow
salads
older and
wouldn't cut it.
live your life.
Wouldn't cut it. As we said, 44
Oh, I
bowls of
know.
spinach, and it still wouldn't cut it because some of those minerals, a lot of those minerals, aren't even in the soil anymore. They're non-existent. They're just not there. So many of those minerals, those trace minerals, some of which you've never heard of, will not be in any food that you're eating. So if your body needs them, and your body does need them, some of them it doesn't need very much, admittedly, it just needs tiny, tiny amounts, but it needs them. So if you're not getting it from your food, and you're not, then yeah, you need to do this long term. Now the zeolite isn't giving you any minerals, it's detoxing you. So I always say to people, listen, you can stop taking the zeolite as soon as you stop taking in all these toxins. Okay, so
Which, if you're breathing on the world, no matter where
sadly,
you're at, you're taking toxins.
we
But
listen.
there's a different mindset. You can think of it in two ways at this point, right? You can say, "Oh my goodness, this is where the world is at," and it's true. This is where the world is at. Or you can also do the flip side and go, "Oh wow, there are solutions. There are options. There are things I can be doing within my budget, and that completely change my future health and quality of life."
Yeah. So it's worth remembering again on the point, how long should we do it? Brand new human beings that are just popping out are popping out full of toxins. That's how bad it's got. Okay, hundreds and hundreds of different chemicals and toxins in a brand new baby, and then that builds over time. We are being bombarded with toxins. We've got unbelievable amounts of chronic disease, and all this chronic disease has at its foundation toxicity. Okay, we're
All
getting
of it. All of
unbelievable.
it.
Look at cancer, diabetes, autism, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, arthritis,
Autoimmune.
digestive allergies. How many people do you know with these things? Didn't used to be. Didn't used to be. This is new, and it's new because of toxins. So we have so many toxins that if you don't help your body, you're going to eventually succumb to these toxins. You just are. So I've heard zeolites tax the liver. They don't even go through the liver.
They do the opposite. Nick, your liver here every night pulls up with blood and it turns everything into fat soluble or water soluble. And yet, while that's doing its work, you have the zeolite in there doing the work for your body, for your liver, saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to come help out and I'm going to take care of those toxins for you, which is
Right. But they
amazing.
rest the liver. They rest the liver. And by the way, we're talking about nano zeolites as well. There are powdered zeolites which are,
Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah, I'm glad you caught that, Ethan. No, good point.
right, and some of those powdered zeolites is a whole different ball game, okay? And some of them are contaminated with toxins and all kinds of stuff. That I still sometimes recommend powdered zeolites in certain situations. There's a right time and place, but when we're talking about nano zeolite, very clean, and very small, and it's out of your body in 6 hours, and it does that through the kidneys, not through the liver. Okay, so I think that was the last question. I know a lot of good questions, a lot of really
So
great questions. So thank you, all of you that have been listening. It ended up being longer than I anticipated, but that's cool. So appreciate you all hanging on in there. Thank you, Jennifer, for your time. I know that you're an extremely busy mom of a full practice, and you just got back from holiday and all of that stuff. So thank you very much. And so I'm going to close it now. Thank you very much. God bless everybody. Have a great day. And if this has helped you, this video has helped you at all, then please share it. But you might want to share the links that I give with it underneath as well. Otherwise, people are going to be left hanging. So I will be putting links underneath the video. And if for any reason at all I haven't, then just message me. God bless. Goodbye.